So when I first started out, I was like, oh man, like this is what I'm going to do. I'm so excited. And what actually got me moving to human resources consulting to my coaching gig was a couple of things. So one, I actually joined an organization called Career Coach Services, where it helps career coaches get off the ground running with different leads, and then also with different training and certification. So that's what got me my career coaching certification.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. Joining us today is Anna Zschuppe, a certified stress and career coach, keynote speaker, HR consultant, and transformational healer, helping people find purpose and joy through aligned work and mindful living. With over 5 years of experience in coaching, training, and HR consulting, including time with the Big Four firm Ernst Young, Anna has supported more than 100 individuals in navigating career transitions, building confidence, and managing burnout. Her journey has taken her from corporate change management to delivering 100+ keynotes and becoming a featured voice in Brains Magazine, Amazon TV, and top podcasts. Through her coaching business, Summer Solstice, Anna brings a powerful joy of psychology, strategy, and spirituality, using personality assessments, resume tools, mindset work, and even inner healing prayer to help people break free from stress and step fully into the work they're meant to do. She's also a co-author of Sacred Wounds and Doc Talks, second edition, and a passionate advocate for redefining how we think about success, mental health, and career strategy. Editor, career clarity. Anna, we're honored to have you with us. Welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Anna, tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to become a career coach.
So I used to work at Ernst Young. I did human resources consulting. And what I did there was really help businesses and organizations change from people, process, and technology standpoints. And as I was there doing the work, which I love, one of the things that I thought about, especially during COVID, was, man, what would it mean to bring all of this into somebody's life, all the change, all the transformation that's happening into somebody's life. And what was really beautiful about that was I was on this journey of really understanding what my own purpose is. What is it that I want to do? What is the change that I want to bring out to this world? And then from there, I went on this journey of understanding more about what coaching is, how it's different from consulting, etc. And I've always been a person who's very passionate about mind, body, spirit, wellness, and connection. So really wanting to envelop both of those together, the coaching aspect, but then also the holistic approach. So for me, it was this journey, I would say for about 1.5 years or so, of really understanding what is my purpose, what are any self-limiting beliefs that are blocking me from getting there, and then how can I carry this out from a day-to-day perspective. So that looked like for me after 1.5 years of a lot of inner healing and just connecting both personally and professionally, that gave me the courage to leave my 6-figure salary and do what I love full time. So I've been doing that for about 3 years or so, which has been really amazing, and helping people bring that same transformation, growth, healing, just so much authenticity and joy in renewing your mind, healing your heart, and connecting with your body, and especially combined with the career aspect as well, has just been so uplifting and so transformational.
Oh, amazing. And how did journey look like from the moment you started your coaching business? So let's say 3 years ago almost, or maybe slightly more, to where you are at today.
Yeah. So when I first started out, I was like, oh man, like this is what I'm going to do. I'm so excited. And what actually got me moving to human resources consulting to my coaching gig was a couple of things. So one, I actually joined an organization called Career Coach Services, where it helps career coaches get off the ground running with different leads, and then also with different training and certification. So that's what got me my career coaching certification. And then also I volunteered as a career coach. This was a little bit before I officially moved, but it was a career coaching ministry that I have at my Catholic parish. So really inviting people in who feel like, hey, I'm really stuck. I don't know who I am. What's my purpose in life? I don't know how to move forward with that. And of course, combined with elements of faith, although we took people who weren't of the faith as well, and being able to mentor them in that. That was really the kickstart of me thinking about, this is what I want to do. I'm getting some hands-on training and coaching experience. And that's what transitioned me and actually gave me that gateway, if you will, to making that happen. And since then, I call it like the roller coaster in the best and worst of ways. Like it was really a lot of ups and downs, and discovering, as a business owner, like, how do I want to run and operate my business? And especially as a woman entrepreneur as well, I think that there's a stigma that we have in this society of, you just have to like do, work, just grind day and night. And that just felt very against like my holistic standpoint of mind, body, spirit, wellness, and connection, and what I call the divine feminine, like really coming from a place of creativity and intuition. And because of that, I was in my doing mode for the first couple of years of my business. And I suffered from it. Although I was in my purpose, like I was aligned to my values, my strengths, my passions, I felt like I was living out what I wanted to do professionally. I feel like that didn't reflect personally. I was like, man, I'm teaching all these people about mind, body, spirit, finding your purpose, but am I being really well and really connected? So for me at first, it was, getting my footing, getting my grounding on, how do I want to operate my business? What do I really want to focus on? And how do I move forward from there? And since I've shifted, and I'll talk about this more later throughout the podcast, like really shifting on, how do I focus on how I show up to things? That impacts how I do things. And by doing those things, I can have certain things. So once I kind of cracked that code, if you will, in terms of, that divine feminine and how to take that for me has totally changed the game. And I feel like coming forward in coaching, I just have so much more of a capacity, so much more of a space and energy to be able to provide to people, all while being able to take care of my health and have my business thrive more than it ever has before. So like I said, it was a roller coaster, but so many beautiful lessons that actually allowed me to experience more healing, freedom, and joy.
So the first 2 years, would you say that the first 2 years were similar to the amount of work you were doing at E, like maybe more?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like it feel like a lot more work, but it didn't at the same time. It was a lot of work in terms of the hours that I spent. You're kind of working on weekends, working days. I wouldn't say nights, but working for most of the days and whatnot. But at the same time, it didn't feel like work because I was so aligned to my passion. I knew that this was my purpose. I knew that this was what I was meant for. As opposed to E1, I was working a lot of hours, but then it wasn't exactly aligned to my purpose. I mean, I was great at it, I was good at it, but it wasn't exactly aligned to my purpose. So I felt like that has changed. But now, like you said, after those 2 years, when I cracked the code, things started to really shift where I feel like I'm putting less hours in and I'm getting more output, more clients, and it's even more aligned to who I am and how I want to operate what I do.
Cool. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And
Yeah.
is it a strategy? Is it the strategy change that caused this? Or, well, we'll dive into that also later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that is it spiritually that you think that that kind of over time got better for you, easier, that you were spending less time or is it a strategy or a business move? But let's dive into that in a little bit because I'm going to ask those questions later on.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
First of all, I wanted to ask for anyone who's listening, who do you serve and what transformation do you help them achieve? So similar, I'm with similar people that have gone through the same journey as you, but
Yes. Yeah. So typically I do serve young adults, although I do serve, people in their 40s and 50s as well. But really it's people who feel overwhelmed. They're in the midst of a transition, or they're like, hey, I don't know what my purpose is in my life or in my career. And what we really get down to is how can we renew our minds, connect with our bodies, and heal our hearts in order to find that purpose, to break any self-limiting beliefs and start living that out so that you're actually experiencing joy and freedom, not only in your day-to-day life, but then also in your professional life and what you're doing job-wise.
and is there a specific industry or is not broken down into
No,
industry?
no, it's not. There's not a specific industry, really anyone who's in that transition. And what's interesting, I take a little bit of a different approach than the typical career coach, because I've been in that field. Like I said, I was in that organization before where a lot of it was focused on, okay, let's get your resume done, let's get your interview done, let's find that job and let's negotiate, all that kind of stuff, which is great. But I tell people that that's the strategy side of things when it comes to career coaching. And that's really the 20% of it. The 80% of it is the mindset work. So, for example, if someone's really struggling with why they're not getting resume hits or why they're not even getting interviews, or maybe even feeling overwhelmed when they're in an interview, when they're in the job application process, I go back to, why is that happening in the first place? Because the way you're showing up is going to impact your results. So, say, for example, you don't even trust in yourself to get the job that you want, that impacts the environment. So, how are people going to think to trust you? So, we go back into some of those mindset things of, is there a fear of failure in the space? Is there a fear of rejection in the space? Is there overwhelm? Is there disbelief, distrust? And how do we actually shift those contexts, both again within your mind and in your spirit, so that you're coming forward more confidently, more ready, and just more yourself? And when you are more yourself, then that's when the opportunities start flowing in. I can't tell you how many times I've seen my career coaching clients, because we focus on that stuff first, it's changed the game. And a lot of people who come in telling me, Anna, like, I'm here for career coaching, I need a job. We don't even touch the job stuff until like the very, very end. A lot of it is actually the mindset stuff first. And then we, if they need resume help and things like that, then yes, we go into that. But most of the time, I mean, we have a ton of resources that can help with that. But the mindset thing is something that's very unique and needs to be addressed. But I think a lot of career coaches miss that element. So,
Interesting. Interesting. They might
mhm.
have been doing a good job already with the resume, right? It was just that the mindset wasn't there.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. Like your strategy is already good. Like, you have a great resume, but it's the way in which you're showing up that's impacting what's happening for you.
Thank you for that. And where do you go about finding your clients? So what is the marketing channel that's working best for you right now?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of different ones before. I've tried LinkedIn, I've tried social media. That is just like not me, and that's against my grain. I am very much an in-person person. So what I've done in terms of lead generation, aside from volunteering volunteering with the career ministry at my church, a lot of them come in and then we unveil all this mindset stuff. And then we go into more of that coaching that's paid. But then also, what I do is I actually provide different retreats, I provide workshops and seminars. And again, I typically connect with different parishes within and outside the state of Texas. That's where I currently live. And basically, it's a topic on finding your purpose, or how do you build your confidence and things like that. That's for the trust, like and trust to be built with me. And then from there, I say, hey, if you're interested in learning more, hey, let's just go grab some coffee. I'd love to just network and get to know who you are, right? That's the power. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So from there, I like to take people on either, a virtual coffee chat or an in-person coffee chat. Coffee is totally on me, whether it's a little gift card or I pay for the coffee in person. We just talk like, what are your goals? What are things that are blocking you from getting you to where you want to be? And how could I maybe support you? Whether that's something like coaching, or maybe it's just something like I'll put you on my prayer list and I'll check in with you every once in a while. Again, I think it goes down to being really authentic and just being a person, not being a salesperson and focusing on the money and the coaching and the clients. That's going to come, but just being an authentic person and sharing your perspectives through some of those different outlets. So,
And you mentioned that you do a lot of these retreats and events, in-person events. How do you get people to register to these events, or how do you get people to know about these events? Do you have like an email list, or do you just like meet or like local community?
great question. So, two ways I mainly do it. One is through partnerships. So, I partner with the parish. So, for example, if they're running a young adults ministry, I'll connect with the young adults ministry leader to say, hey, I'd love to put on this workshop for you guys and things like that. And they do the advertising for me, whether it's in their bulletin or they send out a flock note, all that kind of stuff, which is a great way. You get both. It's you win multiple ways because not only are you getting paid for the workshop retreat, but then also if clients come in through the door with the coffee chat, then you get that as well. So it's like a win-win situation, and also helping the ministry carry their goals and missions forward. And the second way I do it, again, I work typically with young adults. And one of the ways that is really able to connect with them is through like a Facebook event. I'll post a Facebook event or group meet. That's a big way where, especially in the diocese and like the state of Texas that I'm in, the Diocese of Dallas, a lot of people get to know about events at different churches through group me. So that goes out to, I want to say, at least 700 young adults. So that way they just come to the events, learn more, and things like that. So those are my two main ways of connecting.
Interesting. Thanks so much for sharing that. And
Yeah,
do you find that the majority of the people you work with are generally within your local area?
I would say so. I do have, now I would say I have grown more to referrals and virtual, but I would say most of them are around the local area because of that. Mhm.
Okay, so that makes sense. So initially it starts local and then they refer people who are outside of your local area. Okay. I
Right,
wanted to
right.
ask you, do you have some goals that you're working towards in the next 1 to 3 years regarding your coaching business?
Oh, that's like a really good question. I'm really curious to see where my coaching business goes. Because, like I said, I focus on stress and career. I think career is very much an aspect of it. And I'm really curious to see how it continues to grow. What I would love to do, again, it's not a formal goal, if you would say, but I would love to be able to expand across the nation by partnering with different parishes, with partnering different organizations, so that I can have more opportunities for retreats, workshops, etc., to get more clients and be able to bring transformation and growth. And again, it could look like that's kind of my goal, my intention, but I think I'm a really big believer, and we'll talk about this later, but I'm a really big believer that it's also within God's will and timeline, or source, whatever you call it, by really within God's will and timeline. So of how things will shake out. But that would be my desire, is to continue to like literally be in an RV and like go from place to place to be able to minister to these people in a beautiful way. And then also seeing how it expands. Like one of the things I'm really looking into is, different marriages. and what that looks like, how to be able to provide that. So again, it's not like career coaching per se in terms of goals, but it's kind of just hitting different markets, different niches of people through that expansion.
That's a really interesting goal and an interesting mission to think about. So generally, when I interview coaches, I think about we are in the mindset of thinking virtually. So I
Yeah.
have a perspective, which is
Yeah.
being able to go into all of these, like travel across the country and maybe like do this impact in person. Yeah. When it comes to investments, what resources or support has been most valuable for you in your coaching business?
These are really great. I these resources, so I put them out there for everyone. Like I said, one of the things that I had to learn for myself is the mindset behind things before stepping into coaching and running a business, because you see that like 95% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. And that to me just blows my mind. And it's not because people aren't in there, aren't capable. They might not be properly equipped or even having the determination, the persistence, and the confidence to keep moving forward when it gets tough. Because in the field of entrepreneurship, it's going to get tough. It's just a whole different bear in comparison to corporate America. So, that for me, I've invested more of my resources and services into that. So, like I said before, career coach services, for me, that was a great way to one, be certified as a career coach. Two, it's a great way to have clients. But then three, you're also getting training on what being a career coach is. So that from a career coaching perspective has been really helpful. Have continued to use personality assessments and how they even teach and construct how to, use resumes, LinkedIn, interviewing, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, more of the investment that's been impactful for me is the mindset stuff. That is just extremely important, like I mentioned. So for me, two of the programs that have helped from a faith-based perspective is Encounter School of Ministries. And for me, what has been helpful for that is really inviting God into the process of co-laboring this dream that I'm building, this kingdom dream that I'm building. How am I taking what he is providing and how am I connecting with those people who need to hear his word and his truth more? And again, like that's from a career coaching perspective as well, but it's also from a life perspective. So that really taught me, like, how do I invite God into this process rather than trying to, have control, have it all be within my timeline and my desires, but really inviting just the source of truth. And again, that's just more so how I view things. But that really helped continue to renew my mind and heal my heart and connect with him in a way that I may not have done before. And then the other resource that I invested in is called Redesign. So it's a nonprofit that really focuses on that concept of transformation and mastery. So again, I talked a little bit earlier about be, do, have, where if we, depending on how we show up, that impacts what we do. And then by what we do, that's what we get to have. A lot of times people in this day and age flip it, where they focus on doing, aka a lot of entrepreneurs. They focus on doing, and then they get to have these things like money or whatever. And then by having that money, then they get to be free. They get to be relaxed. They get to be open. But that's totally backwards. And how can we actually flip the script? So that particular resource, that particular training, if you will, really helped me master that concept. And I believe has really unlocked that sense of being in my divine feminine, in doing my business totally differently than what's out there in the norm. So
Thank you so much, Anna.
yeah.
Note for the editor here. I wanted to ask you, we only have like 4 more minutes. Is that true? Or have we gone
I
over
can
time?
I can stay on. How many questions do we have left? You tell me.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more questions, which I think we could either
Yeah,
do it
I
in a
can leave around 12:50-ish. So I think we can knock out those questions. Let's knock it out.
Okay, cool. We can do
Let's
that.
make it easy knock it out for you guys. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's go back to 1 second. So, okay, so we were talking about investments. Okay, the answer, we start again here. Another question I wanted to ask you is, what is something you wish you had known when you first started scaling your coaching business? What is like an unexpected lesson learned?
Like I said, it's a roller coaster in the best of ways. And it goes back to that concept of it's not in my will and it's not in my timeline. It really is in accordance with God's will and timeline. When I first started, I was like, oh yeah, like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit like $100,000. I'm gonna hit that 6 figures like I did at EY by this time by taking all this training and all this kind of stuff. That is not how it worked. And the reason why I say that's such an important step is because before hitting that, and I'm not saying that I've like necessarily hit that yet, but there are so many other beautiful steps that need to be taught and learned before hitting that. And for me, that really helped trust in the process and not be so frustrated when the outcomes weren't happening as I had anticipated or expected, because it creates so much extra worry, so much extra stress, even doubt. Like, should I even be doing this? I don't even know. So, really, again, trusting in the process and going through it step by step by step in expectation of less than the outcome, have more expectation in the hope that you're carrying out your purpose. And the question is, I ask this question a lot of like, and again, I do this for me, I do this in my prayer time by really thinking about like, Lord, who is it that you want me to connect with next? Lord, what is it that you want me to do today to live out my purpose more? And again, that could be for my business, that could be something else. So that for me has been really impactful and powerful to just shift the context of my business.
Yeah, it is not a get rich quick kind of business
No,
model.
no,
And
it's not. It's not.
you,
And I think especially when I think for me too, with, when I left, I was what, 20, 24 years old, 26 years old, something right around there. It's not like I have the network. It's not like I'm married and have another income coming in. So those kinds of things are to be taken into consideration as well. Because a lot of the career coaches I knew, they either had a base of people they were working with, they have another income coming in, they're older, they already had income from prior jobs. So that was something for me that, again, it added complications, but I know that there's so much more in store. But it was just a consideration I didn't even think about when I first started off.
Mhm. And what are some of the challenges you faced in scaling your coaching business or that you're still facing today?
So I think for the longest time, it was hard for me to understand what my groove was. I was really thankful for the past couple of years where I worked on it full time to really get into the groove of things. So, like I mentioned before, I had all these things and trainings of like, oh, do social media and all this kind of stuff. That's where you're going to get your clients. And I was like, wow, that is so against my grain. Like, I gave it an actual shot, but I was like, this is so against my grain. So for me, I really liked that concept of trialing and erroring to figure out what works best for me and what's aligned with me. And I think that's a challenge because for me personally, it came at a cost of a financial obstacle, to the point where I was spending a lot of money on rent and I didn't have a lot of income coming in, given that I was working on it full time. So it goes back to my story of changing the context of how I showed up, because I was so determined, like, I need to be in this full time, that I this whole story of Anna leaving her 6 figure salary and starting this business. If I try to do a part time or a full time, like that's going to ruin that whole story. And I really had to check humility at the door, or excuse me, I had to check pride at the door and allow humility to come in to be like, you know what? This is not how I want to run my business because I'm super deprived of sleep, of energy. I had a lot of digestive issues, like my health was tanking, my finances were super bad. And I was like, man, things got to shift. And for me, it allowed me to be in this space where I could be more creative and open to possibilities. And again, once I shifted that, I was like, okay, maybe I try a part-time job. And kid you not, I put on an application, not even an application, I put out a note on LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm looking for a part-time job. And literally within 2 hours, I had someone connect with me, mutual connection. And now I work here. I'm actually in their office space recording this as we speak. But I think for me, it was hard to accept that reality of accepting of their possibilities because I was so buried in the mindset of I got to do all this. This is the story I got to keep up. So again, that was a challenge for me. But since shifting my context, like I said, I work less on my job now or in coaching now, but I have way more clients than I ever had before because I switched how I showed up. And that for me, like, I don't even see it as a challenge now. People might say like, well, you're working part-time on this. You're not at XYZ salary. I'm like, no, but I'm so much more free. Like, no, it's coaching is becoming easier. Like, man, I'm getting people at my door that I didn't even try to get. Like, I just literally have people coming to my door and I don't lift a finger because of the power of shifting how you show up. So
And do you have any challenges that you're still facing today?
that's what I'm saying. Like the challenge, it doesn't feel like a challenge. Like maybe financially, if I wanted to grow that, but I don't know. I don't really have that challenge. I think sometimes, and I think this is very common, right? Of we look at other coaches left and right of like, oh my gosh, how are they booming more than I am and all that kind of stuff. I used to be like that, but now I'm just really focused on like being in my lane and really trusting in the process and asking daily, like, what is it that I can do? Who can I can connect with? So I don't know. It like I really the challenge, the more I talk about it, I feel like the challenge is, other people saying, well, how is this not growing faster? What are you doing? But again, I'm just like, I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm confident in it and just keep holding on. So I don't know. I'm like, I don't really have challenges. It kind of sounds weird to say. Just feels, I don't know, just from the outside, it looks like there's challenges, but like, I'm like, there aren't any. I don't know.
I really like that. There's a
Yeah.
very strong mindset behind that. And getting to a closing question, what is there any final advice you'd give to career coaches who are looking to scale their impact?
I want to give something that I haven't provided before. I feel like it goes down to it's not what you, but it's who you know. It touches on an earlier point that I gave of just being a person. I think oftentimes when we're in the concept of business and entrepreneurship, we're worried about so many other things of how is the money going to come in and how many people am I connecting with? When do I make the social media post and all this kind of stuff? But at the end of the day, there are people out there who need to be served and not just served from a job standpoint, but they just need someone who listens to them. They just need someone who needs to encourage and motivate them. There are people out there who feel like tomorrow should be the last day of their life. And a lot of times when it comes to career coaching, I think we're so focused on just do the resume and do this, do all these steps. But I think it's a concept of pausing and just really hearing what the other person is going through and kind of reading in between the lines. I think a lot of times we like to just give advice of, well, you need to do this and have you thought about this and this? It's like, wait, whoa, hold on. Let's just hear them. Let's hear what they have to say, connect with them, and then move forward on action. Because if a person is super overwhelmed, if they're sitting there like super overwhelmed and you're trying to push like strategy, resume, interview, all that kind of stuff, you're not going to get anywhere because their brain is like too tweaked out. It's too dysregulated to move forward in anything. So again, really connect with them, really ask them what they need in that moment, and then move forward so that that person feels seen, known, loved, and understood. Because in the midst of transitions and finding jobs and unemployment even, we need to hear those words most with our clients. And that creates the transformation, that creates the difference in which we want to see in the world.
Thank you so much, Anna. And for anyone who wants to connect with you or reach out to you, they can find you at Anna Zschuppe. They can also go to your website, summersolsticecoach.com. So it's been lovely having you on the podcast. And yeah, thank you for coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.